Joining us now to talk more about this is the former Customs and Border Protection Acting Commissioner, Mark Morgan. He's also a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Mark, great to see you.
Thanks for having me, John.
All right, so we also have the story, too, about the potential travel ban here. Joe Biden wants to shut down air travel in this country, but the borders seem to be wide open.
Yeah, John, that's remarkable. Look, from a layman's perspective, look, I'm not the medical expert, but it seems a little full of hypocrisy that if I want to go from D.C. and take a 45-minute flight to New York domestically, I've got to get a test. Yet just the first few weeks, President Biden eroded every effective tool and policy that allowed us to effectively address the illegal migration crisis, which has led to more than 3,500 illegal aliens being apprehended per day now. And that's okay. They're not being tested. There's no talk about that. And catch and release has already begun in certain specific areas along the southwest border. It's simply filled with hypocrisy.
And to your point here, illegal border crossings are up right now, specifically with family and children. Border agents report that there were 78,000 arrests last month. Nearly 6,000 of those were unaccompanied minors. We see these facilities, they were once called kids in cages once upon a time. Now they're called soft-sided tents, whatever you want to call them. But former acting ICE Director Tom Homan says the Biden administration is causing a border surge, and you could definitely make that argument, especially when you look at the Remain in Mexico policy being erased.
John, that's Tom Homan. Look, I know him. I know him well. He's a patriot, and he's been serving this country for over 3 decades. He's absolutely right. I'll go a step further. Not just causing a crisis. And people ask what's going to happen because this president has eroded every effective tool and policy. It's already happening. The crisis is already upon us. Remember, it was former Secretary Jay Johnson under the Obama, then Vice President Biden administration, that said 1,000 a day trying to illegally enter our country is a bad day. We're already at 3,500 a day, almost 80,000 in a single month. By March, we'll be at 100,000. We haven't seen numbers like that since 2019. The crisis has already begun.
And it's a crisis we saw, too, under the Obama administration as well. And so many examples of this, you would think that some of the same people that saw these problems the last time, they had to deal with them, would have learned from the lessons that, or would have learned something. Apparently the lessons were not learned.
Yeah, John, I think that's the question to ask. And look, I've been doing this, serving this country for almost 30 years as well. And look, at the end of the day, from a law enforcement perspective, I can come to no other conclusion that they're putting power and politics over public safety.
Yep.
Nothing else makes sense. And let's not forget, it's not just what they're doing with security on the border, but it's interior enforcement. They're systematically eroding all of ICE's interior enforcement. So unless you're a known or suspected terrorist or a convicted rapist or murderer, you're going to stay in the country.
Right. And it's clear that when the pandemic first cropped up, the need to shut down the borders completely became a lot more obvious to people who say, oh, it's inhumane. Of course, we need to support immigration here. But I think this opened a lot of people's eyes to the need to have border security. And if, everyone's so concerned right now, the pandemic, the cases may be plateauing, but it's just about as bad as it's ever been. And it seems like the White House is more concerned about the movements of Americans and the people who are not in this country who could be coming here.
John, that's exactly right. And that's a good point you just made. The numbers right now, as bad as they've ever been. That's why I say these are already crisis level numbers. We haven't seen these since the summer of 2019 at the height of the crisis. The only thing that's preventing that 3,500 a day from being a catastrophic crisis is the CDC order Title 42. That's still in place right now that allows Border Patrol agents to remove folks on the border back to Mexico. That's it. That's the last thing. That's the last finger in the dike from this becoming a full-blown catastrophic crisis. But there's already cracks in Title 42. It's very possible we could lose that, and the next day our system is going to be overwhelmed.
I want to focus on the words specifically that Jen Psaki said yesterday because I think they're important here. And I'm quoting her from the press briefing. Due to the pandemic and the fact that we have not had the time as an administration to put in place a humane, comprehensive process for processing individuals who are coming to the border, now is not the time to come. She's, obviously conveying this to migrants, and the vast majority of people will be turned away. But their focus is on humane, comprehensive process, and I get that, of course. But what about the health and safety and security of American citizens?
Well, first of all, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, for her, what you really need to pay attention to is that they've admitted that they removed all of these tools, full-blown, got rid of them, yet they didn't have anything in its place, right, to mitigate the flow, except to tell the migrants and the caravans and the smugglers, pretty please don't come yet. I mean, that's just absurd. It defies any understanding or the reality of what actually happens on the southwest border. To actually say, don't come yet, we're not ready, then you shouldn't have removed all the policies that were effective. It's simply outrageous.
Mark Morgan, we'll keep an eye on this, and we'll check back in with you. We appreciate your insight. Thanks so much.
You bet. Thanks.
Thanks for watching the Heritage Foundation's YouTube channel. With more than 500,000 members, we are the nation's largest conservative research and education institution. We believe the principles and ideas of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing. Please help us further our mission by subscribing to this channel and sharing our videos with your family and friends.